So Kevin, there was something on your mind.
Yeah, so the couple of guys that I do martial arts with, I've been doing martial arts, martial arts total, but I've only done one, but I've been doing martial arts for 10 years. And it's a really important part of me and who I am. And, sometimes I don't even like using that word, martial art, because I think that sometimes people kind of have a preconceived notion of what that means. And
Yeah.
I feel like I almost, if I mention it, almost like I have to start going into this big explanation of like, well, what it actually is for me, and like what it means, and what's different about this training versus other. But
Some of what I've known that links to for you is like it has to do with like your awareness of mindfulness and meditation and kind of approach to life and that.
very much a spiritual.
I'm not asking you to explain it all, but I just was kind of going in and telling you I picked up some from that conversation what it means to you.
Yeah, I think you have an idea, absolutely. And yeah, it is more of a spirituality, approach to life. I think that's a good way to describe it. And so there have just been two of the guys that I train with. One of the guys that I knew up in Indianapolis where I started, and then a guy that trains a little farther north of Indianapolis. They're in Japan now, and I went over there in 2005 and really enjoyed my trip. And with this art, one of the biggest things is kind of always working on yourself, trying to. My teachers even used the term to become fully actualized.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of nice that it's, I don't know, it fits into
Links
a lot of the work that
concepts
we
from
do.
counseling, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, and so it's just different terms. I think it's kind of what I've found at least. And so a big part of that is trying to get rid of a lot of your layers of ego and work through those kinds of struggles. And so rank has always been kind of, I guess, a center point of those kinds of struggles. And I think not just with me, but with everyone in this training. I was thinking the other day, it was in the yard and just kind of thinking about some things. And it's one of those nice times. It's like a kind of a Zen moment where my mind can kind of flow freely, and but at the same time, I can really stay integrated and connected with what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And this really can. And I was thinking about one of the guys. It's not an issue. He's been training 20 plus years. He's an A3 black belt. I've never ever felt any competition with him.
Right.
And
because he's far advanced in his ranks.
exactly, yeah.
Okay.
You just really don't have to. I don't know. I just never felt like I've never felt like a peer.
Yeah.
In some ways, I've always seen him as more of a teacher.
Okay.
And so then the other guy, he started before me, started training before me, but then left for 4 or 5 years and didn't train for that amount of time. And they've been about 4 or 5 years, I'd say. And so I had, rank-wise, I surpassed him, and that was fine, and that wasn't an issue with him. And what happens is a lot of times when people go to Japan, is they go to Japan, and rank sometimes is given out like popcorn over there, because the Japanese have a very different understanding of what rank means compared to the Americans. Like Americans, we see it as something like a degree, something accomplished.
Right.
And then I think in some ways some people see that as not a beginning point, which is kind of how I would see a degree, and how I see a degree. That's actually the beginning of your education, even though it's the end of your formal education. And so they see rank as something that you have to grow into, not something that you've accomplished.
Oh.
And so in America, it seems like that a lot of times rank, at least in other martial arts and even in our art, they really it really is something where people don't understand that. So they go to Japan and they still have that Western lens when they're given rank. And so sometimes, because this is so close to me, when I first started training, a lot of my worth was caught up in the ranks that I would get. I very much would see that as like an external validation or affirmation of my growth as a human being.
Yeah.
And so I always struggled with sometimes when I didn't receive that at times, and less when others received it. I really didn't have much issue with that. But then I kind of did have, I don't know, I guess in one way I did have a little bit of an issue with, there was a guy that, he started training a few years before me, but at one point we were the same rank. And then he went to Japan, and he took the go-down test, which is the fifth degree black belt test. And you can only take that in Japan or under special circumstances.
Wow.
And then so he did that, and if I would have gone with him, I know I would have taken it as well. So right now I'm a 4th degree black belt, and he's a 7th degree black belt. He's very much, I've seen him as very much of a peer of mine. And so in some ways it's been helpful, but in other ways it just, because it's forced me to look at people, why do I get upset with this? Why does this frustrate me? And it's forced me to kind of question, and realize that, this doesn't define who I am, and this rank is really kind of like an external, external thing that doesn't really matter. It doesn't, in a lot of ways, it doesn't really exist. It's more just it exists in like a, kind of like in our mind.
Yeah.
In some ways, I mean, it does because there's a paper to it, like a
Okay.
certificate, but it just doesn't. It doesn't hold the same weight that I initially thought it did.
It doesn't define the person.
Yeah, and I think that maybe because the training is so close to me, to who I am, and it resonates so much with me, that possibly there's with some people I don't think they see that, or they don't get that from the training, even though they may train for a long time. And then I guess I kind of, I don't know, I guess I was, the right word. Maybe disillusioned, where, I guess my meaning would be, I think I had the assumption that when I first started training, probably for the first 4 or 5 years, that's kind of how I would approach the training, that it was that important to them.
Ranks?
Yeah. No, not that the ranks were important, but it was that the training was close to them. So it was like a personal journey. Not just,
right. So like for each of them, it was quite meaningful about who they are.
Exactly.
Yeah, I misunderstood.
Yeah, and so I think that, so it's just something that, the thing that I've been struggling with right now is, and it hasn't happened, but it's kind of funny that it brings my awareness to where I feel like it wouldn't, like I feel like it doesn't matter anymore what my rank is, but then sometimes I get these twinges of like, I guess jealousy maybe, or like kind of like, what am I not doing? Like what have I done wrong almost?
Yeah.
And like where if the guy that went to Japan, if he took the 5th degree black belt test, which right now he's ranked the 1st degree black belt, so he's significantly lower than me. But those things can happen, and it's kind of it's our Grand Master purposely keeps people in chaos, because I think that's part of the training is if you can let chaos not affect you, whatever's going on.
Being okay with not knowing and, yeah.
Exactly, yeah, and that's really the, then you kind of, you should be able to handle a really difficult situation, you know, as long as your skill has been something that you've been working on.
Yeah.
But at least your spirit shouldn't be ruffled, whether your physical skill is up to the task. And ultimately, that's what it kind of becomes more important, that your way of being is so much. And so I just had this difficulty with thinking that might happen, and then how I would handle that. And so I guess the two things in the middle, like it was just, I didn't really, no, I really didn't, I realized I'm thinking about something that hasn't happened yet, and may not happen, so I'm kind of like, why am I'm not worried about this. But then, on the other hand, it's a very real possibility. And so I almost want to, because it's important for me to be intentional in how I am, and it's an opportunity for growth, I see it as. Whether it happens or doesn't, at least it brought my awareness to,
Yeah.
I haven't dealt with all this as well as I thought it had. And so, I don't know, it was just kind of frustrating just to know that maybe I'm not where I thought I was. And I definitely can acknowledge that my physical skill in the past few months is not, I haven't been able to train as often just because it's school.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, it's just kind of interesting because it's kind of like what I talked about in class about not feeling as close to who I was, but being more developed in a lot of ways. And I just kind of, I feel like some of these things that I had worked on a lot, maybe we kind of, I guess, gained more momentum. I don't really know what to do with it as far as like just acknowledge that it's there. But, it's just been difficult because circumstances have not allowed me to go to Japan because of the financial.
Right.
I mean, it's $1,500 you can get a good price ticket.
Yeah, I think so.
And it doesn't count all the food, the hotel, and
It's
the
an
train
expensive
fees.
place to be too, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think so. Because it's far different from when I went in 2005. It was 9 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, it was just kind of. I guess I feel frustrated that there wasn't. I feel frustrated that something like finances would be something that keeps me from advancing.
Yeah.
But then I think it's not keeping me from advancing, it's just keeping me from going to Japan.
Right,
And
like
it-
you could continue to advancing your skills and who you are, but not go to Japan and get the new rankings.
Yeah, and I think that's really where the struggle becomes, because then when I go, I guess some of it's the social aspect, go to trainings, and my skill level, and this has happened before, my skill level is far beyond my rank, and there are people that are even very high ranks, and they're either teaching classes or they're kind of throwing their rank around, and those have been good learning experiences, and in some ways I've found identity or purpose in I mean, I guess by trying to gently show them they're not what they are, in some ways it's kind of, it's kind of funny how.
I've kind of enjoyed that.
Yeah, yeah. I think I have, because I think that it's just kind of, I don't understand how people don't understand that sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
it's like they have this ability to really fool themselves,
Huh.
which it's hard for me to understand that,
Yeah.
unless it's like a really deep-rooted thing.
Well, so to try to kind of summarize a little bit, part of what, I guess a part of what's going on for you is that you're very much thinking you shouldn't be concerned with ranks, and you thought you wouldn't be at this point in your development. And it's bugging you that you're finding that you are just a little bit concerned with ranks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really is bugging me. It's just I feel like it's something that I should be past.
Yeah. That shouldn't be a part of it for you anymore.
Yeah. I'm not really sure what to attribute that to. I guess I feel like that usually when I'm aware of something, I'm able to navigate my way through it. And get really close to a resolution. Even if it takes time, I feel like that I can, if I'm working on something actively, I'm continually making progress.
Like in this case, progress with not being bothered by others' rankings, or maybe I think a part of it is like incorrect rankings.
Yes.
Or inaccurate rank, unfair, maybe.
Yeah, because it might be, well, I think it is, it's difficult, and again, I think I see this done on purpose. Because it challenges everybody who's around these people that get these ranks.
Uh-huh.
And
So it can be a motivator.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think that there's a good reason for doing that. Because I think it protects the training. Because I think the training isn't for everyone, and everyone gets people that gravitate to the training and stick with it and really understand it aren't even necessarily the people that have the highest ranks.
Yeah. So, you know, it's not just you, but there's others who would all indications would be they actually are more advanced and are not higher ranked.
Yes, and I think that sometimes they don't want to acknowledge that they still struggle with some of these things, like frustration. Because I mean, even me, I guess in some ways I'm kind of embarrassed, maybe even ashamed that I feel like, yeah, it bugs me that he would say, like, I feel like I shouldn't be worried about it, which is just kind of. But I think I've done a good job with my students to help them not be concerned with it.
Mm-hmm.
But then I feel like you can only give what you have. So if I don't have a level of development.
Yeah, so maybe it matters in a practical way that this still bugs you, matters in a practical way that it might affect you as a teacher.
I think so. Yeah, I think it could, because I think that because it wouldn't just be this aspect, because I think that this is just one way that kind of your ego can get blown up, and not maintaining that awareness. Like if this is still an issue, then are there other things that may come up that will become an issue? And I'm not sure.
Don't know what they'd be, but like you're going, if your ego is kind of blown up in this way, maybe it will be in other ways too, and it might surprise you.
Yes, and so then maybe it'd be that that unknown again. So again, there's the purpose. So maybe that's the challenge. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I just kind of. I do know that I am. I don't know. There's a part of me that's always watchful of my arrogance. And when I check in with people that know me, they don't see me that way.
Right.
But I wonder, is it because they don't see me, or is it because I hide it, or do I not have an accurate, I guess, evaluation of who I am? Because I think I do a good job of taking feedback and applying it and seeing if it fits in the training, doing my training. I was a gymnast for almost 20 years before I started martial arts training, and I flew through the ranks. If I would have gone on that trip, I would have been a fifth degree black belt in 6 years, that's unheard of. And so, yeah, I guess part of me is like, I would be really proud of that. But another part of me, thinking back where I am now, I'm glad that didn't happen. Because I don't know what that would have meant. If I was a 7th degree black belt now, I wouldn't think I would deserve that.
So maybe it would have actually kind of messed you up.
Yeah, maybe. And then actually, I thought about that. Thinking it could have messed me up.
One observation that I thought I would kind of share with you is that it's, of course, we know each other before this meeting too, but so from that, but also from our conversation now, one of the things I notice about you is you work hard to figure it out. You went from, yeah, it does bug me, to, and I really want to figure out why, what it's about.
Yeah, I do. I spend a lot of time. I spend a lot of time working on myself. I feel like I'm always improving, or working to improve. And I think in a lot of ways I am successful in improving myself.
I would imagine you have a lot of evidence of success.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. But even saying that rings uncomfortably in my ears, coming from me saying that. That acknowledgement of, yeah, I am successful. I do good work. I don't. I know there are probably a few things that I wouldn't be successful at. And I start thinking about, not being liked because of that. And being difficult to be around or to tolerate. Almost like I think this will describe it, but I don't even like how it sounds even saying it or thinking about it, but it's almost like I would be concerned that people would feel like they're standing too close to the sun. So, and then again saying that, I hear that as, wow, that's really egocentric. Well, thinking that I have I would have that much power over people, or that people would feel like that I'm that I am a successful person, and I have worth and matter. I'm obviously thinking about the sun matters. It's kind of important. So, yeah, and I think that's more concerning just for my most significant relationships. I think it's difficult with my wife sometimes, where I think sometimes she doesn't feel like she's doing like living her dreams in some ways, and I am.
Oh.
And so I think that's part of it, where I feel like I don't want to drive a wedge, because I guess keeping with that metaphor, almost like she has to put up a shield because it's too much joy or too much of a reminder of things that she's not doing.
Mm-hmm. So too much of liking your success, you're liking your success.
Yeah,
It might bother her.
yeah, it could, yeah. And I think I've had some evidence of that. I mean, we have good communication.
Mm-hmm. That's just, sounds like she's told you at times it does.
Yeah, and it's hard for her. And so it's hard for me to balance finding joy in my achievements and my path, and then being able to have that joy but not. Because it's even when I don't. Because I feel like I do a really good job of not putting things in people's faces, because I am so aware of and so concerned with being seen as arrogant. And I wonder if, I don't know, maybe, I guess that's my concern, that I just don't want to be, I don't think that is who I am. I'm not sure.
I don't think that is who you are, to be arrogant, and we certainly don't want it to be.
Yeah.
And that kind of ties in, I think, with being bugged by the unfairness of the ranks, that, like, I gather it feels to you kind of like that same, what you call arrogance.
Yeah. I think it may, actually, I think maybe I feel cheated. I think I feel cheated. And then I think instead of like, yeah, it's like an unfairness when someone gets a ranking. I feel like, did they really deserve this? Like, what is this all about?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel kind of cheated, like, I don't know, maybe I didn't, it's like, oh, I didn't get that affirmation, or was it that it's still struggling with allowing everyone it to be everyone's own path, even though it's the same art and the same training, and there's a structure that's to it, and there's a teaching and a transcendence of, not transcendence, the wrong word, it's a sending information, like a transference is the word, transference of information. And when it's knowledge, I think the knowledge is, there's nothing secret about it. It's all available to everybody. But the quality of the transference matters. And so, maybe it's like the importance of, I don't know, it might be a protective thing, like I'm protective for the training. But then that's not my job. I mean, it is, but I'm not Soke as our grandmaster. That's the title. Soke. You know, like Shiho or Sensei.
So you are a protector of the training as a teacher, but you don't hold, and maybe as a student, but you don't hold that much responsibility. You have to take that on.
Absolutely. And so maybe there's a wish that I had more control over that. But then because of my rank, I can't have more control over it.
You're thinking that's a part of it. You kind of like to be a protector of it in that way.
Yeah, because I think that is something that is. I mean, that makes sense now, because I mean, the purpose of my training in this art is not just the protection of life, my own, my family's, other people that I'm around at any given moment, but the enhancement of life. And I think those two things, I do know that is important to me, and that is part of me, and that I enjoy that being a part of me, and I'm proud of that being a part of me. And so maybe, or it might be like an expression kind of thing, where I feel like maybe if I had more control than I had, maybe there was more permission for me to express who I was and how the quality of transference that I could provide. I feel like I'm missing something there. I'm saying I feel like that there's a whole something I've never really talked about with anybody outside of the training. It's unique.
And it's hard to explain. It's really hard to figure out. Like, you want to figure out why this bugs you, and I think kind of why do you want to figure it out, and you've told me some practical reasons because it might affect you as a teacher. And maybe it's a part of your development.
Yeah, I almost wonder if I might have figured out what I can for now. And maybe that's something that I can learn from, know when to put something down for a little while and pick it back up.
Okay.
Because it seems like I feel like that I could keep talking about it, but I don't think I'd be getting anywhere. And I never thought about that, because then I think about our actual training, and there's so many times where I'll train with something, whether it's a kata or with a training tool, or which those are just weapons, we just call them tools. And then I won't touch it for a while. I mean, it could be months, or even a year or so, and then I'll pick it back up. And it's like I could feel like as soon as I pick it up and I start moving with it, if it's a tool or even if it's a kata, I start doing it again. It feels new, but it feels new in like there's more energy to it. It's like it's changed and it's developed, and I don't feel like it. It's the first time I'm picking up, but it's the first time I'm picking up again, and then it's this. It feels more. I feel more in tune with it. I feel more connected to the movement, and then I feel more connected to myself. And I notice so often when I train regularly, every day, for an hour or two, then that makes a huge difference in just my functioning and my ability to tolerate chaos in my life, or the unknown, or strong feelings that come up to me that when I don't train, it could be the exact same thing, and I know for a fact if I've been training and I approach a situation, I can navigate those internally, and they don't come out sideways, or they don't affect the space or affect the interaction I'm having with someone. Whereas I'm not, I have less ability to maintain like what we call like a zero, having a zero mind or no mind, and having that stillness, where it's it's not the, it's like, if this was where I am, not just not my body, but inside my body, whatever I am, and then sometimes our emotions come out and they're in that space. A lot of times that kind of, I guess, falls into our actions. But then if we're still, we're able to just go, not have to act through those, or act with those, I guess. We act without them. I don't know, I'm not describing that correctly. Not from like a not emotion, but allowing the emotion to be felt inside and dissipate, but not this, and being able to take the information from the emotion and to use that information, because it will inform what's going on in the situation, and then able to use that information. And so it's kind of, it's a little, I think, paradoxical, because the more you can feel, the more you can have emotions, or the more you can have feelings, the more, I think, the more capable you are of being effective in everything that you do. But it's not that your emotions your feelings are becoming emotions, where they're not altering your balance or altering your stillness. You may experience them, but you're not changed by them.
Mm-hmm. So when you train, it gets you more to that kind of place, or that way of being, and I'm not going to try to name it, because I think you've been trying to, and I think if you can, I can't do it. But I don't think I know it, but I think I have a sense of what you're trying to say. And well, I guess I could just leave it at, there's this place in this way of being from training that is kind of a goal for you, and it's very effective and it's very helpful, and you work better after training because of that. But I wanted to go back to a part you were saying, because I thought it seemed particularly meaningful to you. Oh, I've got to also watch the time, because to keep us within about the time that we planned, so about 5 more minutes. But you were, the part I wanted to go back to, because I thought it seemed important to you, and then I think in explaining it, you kind of went in another direction. So I want to go back to it and see if it was important to you. I thought you were saying at one point that you're thinking maybe you've thought about this as much as you can, or as much as is productive in this moment. And then you were explaining to me, like, when you're working with a kata or a tool, that this isn't quite what you said, but it's what I thought you were maybe going to say. That, like, at times when you pick it up, it feels right to be working with that. And so I gathered the opposite also might be true, that at times when you pick it up, it feels like, no, this is not the thing to be working with right now.
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true. Yeah, and now I think that's significant. That I don't know. I guess my first kind of I guess taken aback that you were able to see that. I never. It is definitely true, and just because not having trained, that was something that I didn't expect, and someone could really understand kind of that happens.
Oh.
And I think that what's profound is not. I think what's profound for me is also that these feelings that happen in training, I think that they happen in all aspects of our life. They don't have to be in that. So it's almost like it mimics life, I guess. Training mimics life.
Right. So like you get that sense with other things in life too, where it's like, this is the time to work with this is not the time to work with this.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that that's, you saying that was confirmation in a lot of ways for me, that in a lot of ways the training is a lot less important. But even though it works for me, but it's, sometimes I have trouble trusting that.
Trusting that feeling, is it the time to work with this or not the time to work with this?
Yeah, and I think that comes from some of the anxieties that I have around it, the concerns, the worries, and sometimes feeling like I have to explain. And because it's such, you can't explain a feeling, it's hard to, I can talk about the sensations. But then even if I can explain the feeling, it's difficult. There's a lot of people who say, that didn't make any sense. Why? Because it could be perceived as something else, even though it's not for me. So a lot of that does, it's like that concern, maybe judgment.
So you get the feeling, and you know it, and the feeling matters to you. But you realize at times you can't explain the feeling.
And so even outside of training, just in my life, and it's like that's what training does. It allows me to, those feelings become put in sharper relief, so I can see them more clearly, so I can see the direction where I'm supposed to go in my life. The training, it's like the training isn't. It's like working a muscle, kind of, but it's working that ability, that sense to pick up on those feelings. And so, yeah, the not being able to describe it, I feel like I can't. It's like I have to justify my actions with some sort of logical worth. Like, this is what I did, this is why I'm doing it, this is this and this and this, and I have to talk it out. It's like I just have a feeling.
Yeah.
And my feelings are always right.
Uh-huh.
And so I don't know, it's kind of like a war that happens.
Yeah, so there's kind of two parts of you. One is the part that wants to figure it out and be able to explain it. And I'm gathering, imagining that the value of that explaining at times is even just to you.
Yeah.
And then there's another part of you that says, so what if you can't explain it? You know the feeling. And at times those different parts of you pull you back and forth. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's trust. Yeah.
Boils down to trust for you.
I think so. And trust because of value. I think that's still something that I struggle with. It's my value. And I think that's kind of, so it's odd. I work at different ends of the spectrum a lot. Like on one end, I've been working about, am I pushing others away because of my successes, and then the other end. So yeah, I think it is. It's a trust.
We'll stop in a minute, but it's like trust. I gather, I was guessing, like not quite getting that part, but like, which part of you do you trust when? And I got the idea that some of how it's hard for you to decide is because it's tied up in how you value yourself. There's one thing I want to go back to before we stop. Just a statement, I guess, and then I'll wait and hear how you react to it. Okay, at one point you were complimentary of me for having seen how a piece worked. But I guess and I appreciate that, but I guess what I want to say is, to my mind, that wasn't me figuring it out. That was just, you pretty much told me. That's the way I saw it in our interaction.
I think it, yeah, I guess I kind of see it as, I think that you probably had, I don't know, I have trouble not thinking that you had had those kinds of experiences before. Maybe I understood it. I guess that's kind of,
Well, yeah, I think that's true too.
yeah.
Like, I don't know if I've had those really the same experiences, but so I'm not sure. I think I have probably had some similar experiences, although I know I haven't studied the same art that you have. I don't know if they're really similar, but my sense in the moment was, oh yeah, I get it. I can see how that would work.
Yeah, oh, I think you definitely, I think in that instant, like it, yeah, I guess I felt like that, there was like a piece on the board that I hadn't looked at yet, but it was there, and you're kind of like, that's there.
Okay.
So like I think you understood exactly what I was talking about, and I think that it was yeah, I don't know. I guess it's another one of those feelings.
Well, another thing is hard to explain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel something there, but I can't. Yeah.
Well, let's stop there.